Hey improvisers, Suzi here with a tiny PSA before we get started. It's the season of gift giving, and we have gift subscriptions available at yesalso.supercast.com. For just $8, you can gift a beloved improviser in your life a full month of full-blown access to all of the bonus content we've ever created, or if you really want to impress them, just $80 will get them a year-long subscription. Either way, it's a nice, thoughtful gift for the improvisers in your life, and you know what? Come to think of it, this is not a PSA. This is a straight-up commercial. So, say no to drugs, and definitely don't litter, and smoking kills. There we go. Welcome to Yes Also. I'm Suzi Barrett, and my guest today is one of my favorite people on the planet, Lamar Woods. Lamar has written on some of your favorite TV shows, including Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girl and Grand Crew. And as an improviser, he's a member of one of LA's most beloved teams, the Big Team. Lamar is an improviser who plays completely in his own style, and it was cool to talk to him about sort of the different angles of that. Things like playing authentically and finding your own comedic voice and translating that to the needs of performing on stage. It's a fantastic episode, and remember that this is only the first half of it. Part 2 is accessible to subscribers only, and you too can be a subscriber. Go to yesalso.supercast.com to support the show, and you'll unlock all of our bonus content. For more Lamar Woods, make sure you check out the Big Team at UCB in LA, and make sure you check out his new album, Rebel Love Language. But for now, the episode. Lamar, welcome to the fireside chat here.
Yeah, I know. It's toasty. I need some marshmallows. Yeah. It's open here. What's up,
yeah,
Suzi?
do you want to make us some marshmallows really quick? And
I'll make some marshmallows, graham crackers. There's real holiday vibes in here. I'm loving it. Yeah.
I'm so glad that we get to do this. You're you're obviously one of my favorite people. Anytime I run into you at a party, I don't see anyone else because we end up talking for
all night.
Truly. Multiple parties, people have been like, oh, I didn't really see you or get to talk to you. I'm like, I was in a corner with Lamar.
Yeah.
We had some shit to talk about for 3 hours.
You're my homie for real. Every time. And I love this pod. I've been wanting to get on it too for a long time. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, me
Thanks
too.
Thanks for having me.
Where do you want to start? Do we want to talk about how improv entered your life? Or do we want to go before that and talk about any roots in comedy? What angle you had for your own life, what you expected to be doing before you became an imperoviser, and all these other things.
I mean, it kind of ties to what I'm doing now, which I did start out doing music. So I was I grew up in Atlanta doing I even when I moved out here, I had a band and everything. I didn't move out here to do comedy at all.
What was your band?
It was I had two. One band was called Black Iris, which was remember what's that band? Take a look at my girlfriend.
Oh yeah,
she's the only one I got. It was that kind of in that era kind of sound. And I played guitar and I would rap a little bit. It was pop, and then I got kind of disillusioned by that, and I was I was really into folk music, so I started a folk band in LA with just some people I met on Craigslist. It was just
playing guitar and singing. Shit.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I did no idea. But I was. What's funny though, I was my favorite thing about folk, especially live, is just them talking. So I was I didn't realize it, but I was just doing comedy sets in between the songs.
Long, all your songs are an alternative tuning, so you have a long chat portion while you hit the knobs and
they don't seem to like the music part, but they really like they're getting a lot of laughs, and I'm I guess maybe that's somewhere I could maybe do something with that. But
there's even the idea of that has a lot of improv embedded in it. The way you in improv, if you follow where the laughs are going sometimes, or you oftentimes, even if you don't see the unusual thing, the audience will grab it because they laugh, and you go oh, that's the fun now that we're going to honor. And that happened in a macro sense. You're trying to be a folk artist, but the audience is really digging the comedy bits, and you're oh, maybe I'll follow that.
Yeah, I'm following
maybe that's
that
the path here. Yeah,
that's so interesting. Just life in general, you sort of I used to be very like, especially with art, I would be like, I want to be kept, like, I want this album to come out first, then this is going to be the one after that, and this is going to be like, and none of that ever really happened. It's like very much like I sort of just follow the excitement. Even moving out here, even though I did it for music, my homie, one of my best friends, he wanted to move out here because he wanted to be a filmmaker. So he was like, come out to LA, and even that wasn't part of the plan. I remember because I worked at JCPenney's at the time, and my boss, Miss Powell, we call it, so back in South we call our boss by Miss, they're certain her name, and we go by her last name. And I told her, I said, hey, I'm going to California, but I'll be back in like 3 months. I'm just gonna check it out. Then I never came back, like, ever. And I remember they called me. It's like, we need you here at JCPenney's. Like, what is happening?
You have a shift on Thursday.
Yeah. It was like on the schedule. And then I was like, it was like the end of 8 Mile where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do my own thing, Miss Powell. Sorry. And then never came back. It was crazy.
And you happened to be holding a microphone while on the phone with her just so that you could drop it. But she didn't see the mic drop. And you're like, see it, just so you know, what I just did is I dropped a mic on my kitchen floor. Bye.
Trust me, it was very cool.
It was very cool.
But yeah, like all that shit, you look back, you're like, damn, I didn't plan none of this shit.
Yeah.
Right? You're just following, just like on the scene, you're just kind of following it, which is dope.
Was there a little bit of resistance inside of you at the time in terms of like, oh, this is kind of against my plan? Was like whether that resistance was fear or like you feeling like you weren't honoring what you had set out to do? Did you feel friction in that way?
Oh, yeah, that was really hard, I think. I still feel it now. Like, I think, I love music. That's like my passion. I love music to like always, like since I was high school. Will you marry me? Music. And then I was like, my best friend, he always had like a positive influence on me. I feel like, I had, a lot of my friends, we're doing whatever, smoking weed, whatever. But he was like always the friend that was like kind of seeing the good, kind of the talent in other people. He was like really special in that way. Like not just talent, like in terms of like acting or whatever, but talent, like just like, you're really good at this, you should do this. And he was kind of pushing me. He was being like, you should do the comedy thing. And, we just started doing internet sketches while we were out here, and they ended up becoming like a YouTube channel, and it was doing really well. But the whole time I was like, I don't want to be a comedian. I want to be a rapper. I really want to rap. Like, I don't, like, for real, like, and it's like, cause I'm looking up to Tupac, and which is ironic now looking back, like he took acting classes, which is so interesting. But, at the time, people I looked up to was like Tupac, Nas, and Wu-Tang, and this is the path I wanted to go on. And I didn't want to be like silly, like goofy. And
even though a lot of rap albums are full of skits.
yeah. I know. They're like, when you rap is so funny. It's like, and like the punchlines and all these things are like so tied together.
It really is. Like, I know that there's like a vast difference between like, the more goofy album, and like De La Soul, like something like very lighthearted, and like Nas or someone like really like, rapping about very hardcore things or serious things. But the even just the turns of phrase, the witty writing, I feel like there's always a pissing contest of like who can have the most clever, funny hook or punchline or whatever. So they are very tied. Like, oh yeah.
And it's interesting. Like, there's certain lines in hip hop that I found it's funny to see rappers they basically try to out clever each other with one line. Like, there's this line like "Life's a bitch" that people say a lot in hip hop, or it's a colloquial saying, but every rapper is trying to find a way to say that. So it'll be like, life's a bitch, so I divorced her. Like, life's a bitch, so I like dropped her off. Or like finding different ways to use that metaphor. And it's so interesting to see even that dialogue amongst rappers is happening in a similar way, where I feel like comedians sort of like takes like comedy ideas and sort of reinvent them in a way. Like, oh, this is like a Charlie Chaplin bit that I took and I'm making it into this thing. But when rap, we're kind of having that dialogue with each other too.
Yeah. But it's almost like internet meme culture. It's like, okay, someone threw this out as like an idea, but now like this is my riff on it, and and it naturally heightens over time. It can't help but heighten. So it's almost like the macrocosm of what an improv scene is. It's like improv does it over the course of 3 minutes, but then this it like goes for years. And
it's so interesting. And then you go, you want to hear mine? This was mine.
Yeah.
Mine's so mine was like a little removed, but I was like, I finally got mine in the mix where I said, I can't wait to die so I could tell God my life's a bitch metaphor. So I didn't even do life's a bitch. I was just like, I'm going to talk to God about all the ones I've had. I got so many that I got to talk to God about it. So let's see if y'all can beat that one. Out of rappers.
The next person's like, I'm God.
Yeah.
And I know everything Lamar said.
Right.
And now
and I made
know
life
it.
my bitch.
Yeah, that's right. And I created him in my image.
Yeah. So but I had totally trouble like accepting that for sure. Like I remember getting in a fight with Weldon and my friend Weldon. I was like in the car. He's like, I don't want to, like, cause he was like kind of being pushy. Like, you're good at this. You're talented at comedy. And I was like, I don't want to be a comedian. I want to be a rapper. And which is funny now, but I think that was less about the two art forms and more about how I wanted to be seen in the world. I think because I think I was always funny in school, and that was like I think sometimes not by like choice. I think people were just laughing at me too. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like I associated all the laughter with like positive things. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And maybe that's some of it there too. There's like a residual like memory of feeling like bullied or not taken seriously as a person or something.
Right.
You don't want that to be your life's path. It's like, no, I'm going to go towards the path where people think I'm cool and girls want to hook up with me.
Yeah. Like with like these rappers that like these like the bravado and all like Jay-Z and all these people. I was like, I want to be like that. I don't want to be like the goofy guy who they all push around and stuff.
Right.
But that wasn't me really. You know, I think that and the irony of that is like I didn't really ever grow to that as a rapper. And then now doing music now, it's like, completely on the inside of like doing all this comedy and now being like, very comfortable in who I am as a person, which I don't think I would have got there if not getting into comedy, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. I mean, there's like there's a growth and a confidence that happens from within when you start walking on the path that's like aligned with your talents and your gifts. And so like from the inside, you start feeling that like you're lighting people up and people are complimenting you and being like, oh man, that was the funniest thing or whatever. Like that's gotta build something in you that is more lasting than just your idea of what you want people to say about you or whatever.
That's so
like
interesting. Yeah, that's so true. Like I think there's, especially, you know, like I think rap, you know, when I was young, I grew up really in a strict religion. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, which was like, I wasn't really allowed to do anything, and everything outside of like my, you know, like religion was called like the world, right? Which is like, especially like hip hop and Hollywood and all these things. That's like the world, which is controlled by the devil. And my job as a Jehovah's Witness was to stay away from that and pull away from that. But as a kid, what it does is it makes you admire it. That's the opposite, like, which is like for not what they wanted. But I'm like, I'm trying to go there. Like, and I remember I used to love Michael Jackson because I was like, Michael Jackson grew up Jehovah's Witness, and I remember being like, yeah, like he like left his, he had the same thing. He kind of like went so far away from that religion because he was like almost admired like everything that was outside of like these things they were trying to keep from him.
Right.
Which is like, you know, but it could create a false sense of like what, you know, what's valuable and like what you really care about and stuff. So that was hard.
I mean, it's the classic, like the debate about like the drinking age. It's like, well, in France, like kids drink from the time they're 5, so none of them become alcoholics. But here it's like you keep it away from kids and then they like think it's like, now we got to have all of it. And,
right. It's like, you're like, it's like, yeah, once you know, like weed now, it's like we can go buy it at the store. And like, and I'm like, I probably smoke less than I did when I was in high school, which is, maybe not. I probably do smoke more, but it is easy to get to. It's just right down the street.
Think of it, the barrier of entry. Yeah,
I had a good metaphor too, but no, it was good. But yeah, no, I
save
smoke
it
weed
for
now.
for the God moment.
Yeah. When I talk to God, I'll let him know.
So how did you discover improv specifically? What year and how did it come into your life?
When was that? So I guess I technically So I was doing these sketches. This was around the time like Good Neighbor, Derek Comedy, and our channel was called Northside Comedy, who I was doing with my best friend that I moved out here with. We had, we were just making sketches on our own with like comedians that we knew, but didn't know anything about the UCB sort of improv world. It was more like a lot of comedians out of Comedy Union, like Tony Baker and Tone Bell, and like all these. We would just go down on Mid City and just on Pico and just go there and just talk to people. Hey, you want to do sketches? And we somebody asked us to screen one of them at this backyard, this guy's backyard who turned out to be TJ Miller, which was crazy.
Oh, wow.
At the time, I didn't know who he was, but like it was funny, like looking back, oh, that was his house or whatever. Yeah. So they screened one of our sketches with a bunch of other people with their sketches. And this dude came up to me, Dave Ferguson, who's from the Birthday Boys, was like, yo, like, you ever think about doing improv and sketch? And like, I was like, nah, man, get away from me. like, get your white ass away from me.
You shoved him.
Yeah.
You kicked him. You stole his car. And you filled it with bitches.
Yeah. It's like, nah, I get girls, man. I don't do improv, and I'm cool. And then he said, then he put me in touch with, and I said, yeah, sure. Like, I said, no, I never heard of it, but I didn't know nothing about it, honestly, before. I didn't know about it growing up. I never heard of it. I knew who's on it anyway, but
in your defense, it was part of the world.
Yeah. I was also like not allowed. They were like, why are you watching that? Like, get you Carrie off our TV. But yeah, I was, and then he put me in touch with Joe Wanger, and we did like a little like interview for like the diversity thing. And this is like way back where really wasn't that much diversity at all. Like this is an old school diversity program.
So for the listeners, this was like a program that UCB launched that gave scholarships, trying to like make the community and the theater more diverse. So it was like, a certain number of people would be interviewed and get, free classes. And great idea. Great. I know that everything was like,
it worked.
There's like certain flaws, like despite that, but it was a way that that a lot of people were introduced to improv. That, like you, it's like you're
almost
like,
most definitely I would not have done it. Could not have afforded it. At all. So I don't know if I would have done it. And then me and him were just talking about comedy and stuff, and I was like, I realized, like a lot of the stuff I grew up watching is like some stuff that he grew up watching. Like we were just connecting in this meeting, and I was like, I like this dude. And then I went to some shows, and I saw like Colton Dunn do, I went to Sketch Cram. I'll never forget this sketch. It was like one of my favorite sketches, and Colton was playing like Pat Sajak, and it was like they spin the wheel. They had the sound effects of the Wheel of Fortune thing, and it just wouldn't stop. Like, and the wheel just kept going, and then Colton just like lost his mind, and it was just so funny. And I was just like,
so simple.
I was like, yo, like I want to be a part of that. Like, so yeah. And then I just started taking classes straight to UCB. No other schools. Just like went right in UCB at 101. And but yeah, that was kind of how I got into it.
And did you like it right away? Like the doing of it, the learning it, like did it feel like, oh, this is fun and cool? Or what was your like
interesting,
what was your trajectory?
I liked watching it. I definitely liked like going to shows. Like that was like, in class they would say, go see shows, and I would do that all the time. I was going like all by myself just watching, and I liked everyone I was seeing up there. I felt very connected to them in terms of like comedy and taste and stuff. And then in class, I think I was struggling with the performance aspect of it. I think for the same reason we were talking about earlier, where it's like, I think I perform on stage as a rapper. I'm like trying to be cool. And I think there's an energy of trying to be cool that it doesn't work in comedy. So I think I found myself very rigid in class, like performing. I didn't really like it. And also I felt outside like that, like back then, like, I mean, I would love to know how people who are coming in class now feel about it, who are minorities. But when I was doing it, it was like no black people. It was like I was like the only one in my class, and we would do stuff like we would do that. What's that warm up where you hot spot? People would sing songs, and even though I did have a pretty eclectic taste in music, it's every time I would do that, I would feel out of place a little bit, like everyone's jumping in singing their songs and I'm trying to support it, but I'm also like, man, I don't really feel connected to this. Like I felt like an outsider, and that was hard, not just because I was trying to connect as just a human, but also like I think I'm still playing like a cool guy in the room. Like, oh, I'm too cool to go sing like Bare Naked Ladies right now. Like, what are y'all doing? This shit is whack. But then but then after, I think that would always been a struggle, at least for the first like I would say between 101 and 201. But 201, I think changed for me because I really loved game, like learning about game and stuff. I think that made a big difference.
Yeah, what grabbed you about that? And talk to me about like, was there like an actual shift from like being kind of too cool or wanting to be too cool, and then being like, fuck it, that I'm gonna be silly?
Right.
I guess it's two separate questions.
I know, it's like an interest. I'm still trying to figure it out, I guess. Cause I still be on stage trying to be cool.
Well, it's working. Yeah. I think you're like one of the coolest people in improv.
Oh no! Well, I think that's credit to my team. I mean, we can go backwards, but my team, the big team, formerly known as White Women, I think all of those guys are like kind of were struggling with the same thing, and it's not that we weren't trying to be cool, but it's like the people who were good at it kind of representative of archetype that I didn't relate to, which was like, like kind of like more nerdy or type of person. And I'm like, oh, I'm not really connecting with them I connect with them on a comedy level, not connect to them on like more just a regular, like how I move in the world kind of level. And then when I would get with white women, we would realize like, oh, we can wear our Jordans on stage, and I could wear my hat backwards and stuff like that. I just wasn't really doing. Like I'll see Ronnie come on stage with chains on. Like, he's not trying to be a rapper, but it's just like I used to like. I remember in the beginning when I was in class, or we do our graduation shows. I would never dress cool. I would always wear a white t-shirt and like jean, or sweatpants.
No offense to people who wear white shirts and sweatpants. You're all very cool.
Well, now that's all I'm pretty much all I wear is sweatpants now. But at the time I was trying so hard to like not be an individual.
Kind of like neutralize yourself and just like blend in or be not make any big choices or whatever.
Right.
Personally,
which I think is helpful in comedy actually. I think there's an argument to do that.
I'm a fan of that. Like that's definitely how I lean in terms of show clothes. Like I even feel like resistant to wearing like a hat or shorts because I feel like just personally, I like to be a chameleon, or like I like to feel like if I'm called on to play a grandma that I really like, in my mind, I really look like a grandma. And if I'm like specifically like wearing my trucker hat or whatever, then I feel like I don't feel like it's like becomes part of my physicality or something. Right. I want to be more malleable than that. But,
I agree. There is stuff I won't like. I try not to wear it. I wear earrings now, but I won't do anything like the earrings I got on now, like these dangly kind. I wouldn't wear that on stage because I can feel them. I feel them on my body, or like I usually don't. I try not to wear hats on stage, but like Carl will wear hats on stage, but he, we have had talks like the same thing. Like it's like, oh, I was too afraid to wear a hat and feel comfortable, but that was less about. Like I said, like there was like two layers going on. There was like the improv layer of how do I want to do improv, but then there was a layer of like how do I relate to this art form as a black man in this space? Because I'm like I still don't feel ownership of it because I feel like outside of it because I have to shut down certain parts of me to be in it. So then when I got with white women, it was like we were like all. Like, hey, we're all kind of feeling this way. Like, let's just be ourselves. And because we're all black, we don't have to like represent any kind of tokenism within our team. And then all of a sudden, all the feeling of like, like every choice I made wasn't like black guy on the team. It was like Lamar in the group doing the choice. And it was like, oh, I don't have to wear a hat on stage because I probably wouldn't, but Carl would wear a hat wherever we go. And that makes sense for him in that state. And it doesn't affect his performance because that's who he is.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like if I wore a hat, I think it would affect how I would play a little bit, but that's a choice I get to make now as a performer on a team with other black people where I'm not actually representing the one black person in the scene. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You're not speaking for an entire race.
Right.
When that transition happened, like when you started playing with them and realizing that, like, oh, I get to improvise as Lamar. Did you have a sense kind of right away, like did your own sense of your comedy identity start emerging right away? And if so, like what is that? What bubbled up as like the Lamar choice?
That's a good question. Well, I think I will say I did have some level of like a sense of like comedically where I was at that point because I was doing a lot of comedy sketches by then, like online. I think it was more just like, how do I match that on like physically, like movement wise? Because I think I was, and like if you talk to my I went with Alex Berg a couple like for 101 and 301, and he was probably the one teacher to be like, if like one of the things that I still think I feel like I struggle with now is volume. Like I think he would be like, I can't hear you, you know, and I would do, but I was funny though. I was playing funny, but it wouldn't matter because no one could hear me.
Yeah.
And so it was less about finding my voice in terms of like comedy. It was more like finding my swagger, like my stage performance
and like
swagger.
your actual voice.
Yeah.
Like your projected volume voice. Yeah.
like it's like that scene in Sister Act where the girl, she's like, I think she's like so like a mouse, and then Whoopi Goldberg's like sing. She's like, oh, and she's like, oh, like that. And it's like that's what it felt like. That sort of, I was like, oh, I could do it. Like,
yeah.
And like, but it was just choices that were already in my brain that I was wanted to make, just not making those choices confidently.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the switch that I felt once I got with like white women. And once I started hooking up with white women, no, once I started performing with white women specifically.
Once you got with the team, white women. Yeah. Now the big team.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Also, like there's so many metaphors in this, but it's like, now you're like in this group where you feel like a sense of release of like your own character and whatever. You're also like releasing like whatever baggage or filter. It's like you're not carrying all these other like checklists of things that are like running in your brain. Now you can just kind of like, I don't know, like surrender and trust, and out of that would come like more voice and more,
Yeah.
You have more volume now than you used to.
Yeah,
like
I think people
notice it. Okay. Yeah.
Let me know. Well, actually, I don't want to know. I generally, it was generally like, I actually think it's rooted in some kind of trauma because like, I when people tell me to speak up, it like hurts me. Like so like even when Berg would give me that note, I would sink every time. And I think it's, I mean, maybe this is just from the last few years in therapy, but I was always soft spoken as a kid, and I never liked to take up space. So like, and I would go to my friends, and I grew up in the South, so a lot of like when you go to like, if you ask anyone who goes to a family, like a black family house in the South, it's real loud in there. So like, and you go like, and they'll say, I'll go to my homie's house and his uncle will be like, can I get you something to drink? And I'll be like, yeah, I'll take like some water. So speak up, boy, like speak up. And it's like, it would like, it would feel so embarrassing. I'd feel like so like less of a person. And so then to get on stage and then have that come back to me and be like reminded that like I'm still not projecting in the way that I know I can and know that it's necessary for like to perform in front of people was like very hard for me. I found it to be like actually one of the hard, I still like when we go on tour, when Big Team goes on tour and we go to like the bigger, like that's why I love Frank. I love the small theaters, but when we go to like those big ass theaters like up in San Francisco or whatever, it's like I feel like much more nervous because I'm like I know I have to project a lot more.
I mean, is there a way to use mics, like clip-on mics? Would you ever do that and then play at your own volume so you don't have to like put something on that's like not authentic to your core?
That's a good question. I mean, I seen you guys were doing with on some of the Ben Schwartz stuff. Like, how is that? Is it? I don't know.
It's great. You don't notice them, and like the spaces that he books are like gigantic. You wouldn't be able to like project loud enough. But what it gives you is like the ability to play really small. You know, like on like TV, how like you can talk at whatever volume, and it's clear as day for everyone.
Right.
So it's a little weird to get used to like for me personally, like because I'm a theater kid at heart who like grew up doing plays,
Right.
like to me there's like a psychological thing that happens with like wanting to fill a space like that. It's like
Right.
hard not to shout or whatever, but when you
Interesting.
have a mic on, it's like no, don't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like a little bit of kind of like calibration that happens, but no, it's totally great.
Okay.
And that would work well for you because then you can just speak as you.
Yeah.
You don't have to like.
Well, that's the thing. I
push.
felt like I always felt like when you just said I feel insecure about that like lack of acting background that I had. Like I wish like because I also was like as much like in terms of comedy and how I want to play. Like I'm at a point now where I'm like, oh, I'm confident if I want to play small or big or whatever. But there was like in class when I was learning how to do improv, there was a feeling of like a disconnect of like, oh, I don't know the rules of like being a performer, of an actor. And I think that was like holding me back because I felt like, oh, if I like, even though I would resist it, I'd be like, man, I don't want, it don't feel like I would come up with some intellectual way to be like, well, if I get all loud, it doesn't feel as real to me. So it doesn't feel grounded. And now it doesn't feel funny anymore. But a lot of times I was using it as an excuse to just not project at all. Like, and I don't think I was even projecting. Like at that time, it was like, they can't hear you at all. Like, you know, but that's like, because there's a difference between like, you know, going big and just like playing smaller and also just like not saying the word loudly.
Right.
But I think that's something I hopefully I hope that I feel like I've gotten over now.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, because I've seen you over the years, like, yeah, you were really like quiet at first, but in a way that I feel like a lot of people are who just don't have that like theater, you know, or like musical theater training or whatever. And your body has like risen to the occasion. Like you've met yourself in the middle now. Like even like we did an outdoor show together like last summer. That's like that's a venue that eats up sound.
Yeah.
It's like outside, very big, lots of people, goes up into the trees.
Right.
And I was towards the back and could totally hear you just fine.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Finally somebody told me
And, and I want to turn like what you're saying into like also a compliment because I do think in a lot of ways your smallness and your authenticity is one of your superpowers. Like you are so uniquely yourself on stage and so committed to staying rooted in that. There is so much funny that comes from that. There's like you are like one of the few performers I see who like just does not water down yourself at all. And
that's really nice.
Despite the fact that it's like you speak at kind of a different cadence than most people, different volume, you hold yourself, you know, physically in a different way, like, and the chillness and the like not getting rattled and the kind of refusal to like you never look like you're panicking on stage in the slightest. That's great for comedy because you're like, no, I've got it. There's like such a confidence of it. And also what's great for comedy is what you were describing a second ago, which is like the smallness and the realness and the believability. That's its own commitment. Sometimes people equate commitment or they confuse it with like yelling or you know, fake crying or throwing a chair. Like, yes, those can be ways of committing, but there is also an equal commitment in like committing to the reality and the believability of the moment. And that's what you've got dialed in that like is untouchable. Yeah.
And I think that's probably also rooted in because that's what I liked seeing too, you know. I think and like going back to it is kind of circle back to even Joe, like who was the first person to kind of introduce me to improv was like I would watch The Smokes and watch Wanger, like, and I'm like,
he's a great example of it.
And, and the way he plays, I'm like, it's always he's drawing you in. He doesn't need to be like like, but he'll do it if the scene requires. It's not like he's holding back in that way, but it's like I'm gonna play this as real as possible so that I could believe it for myself and then give you an honest reaction. And I think I remember I think my favorite like warm up in class was probably Park Bench of Truth because I love the patience of it, and I think also like the listening that's required in there, and what happens when you like. I think I like when scenes are much slower, which is like, oh, let's just like be in the moment and present in it, and I love the feeling of like, you know, waiting a long time and then it's giving you an answer just honest, not loud, and just it gets such a big laugh. But I think that also to me is just like dope, like fun.
Yeah. And there's like a release of pressure because rather than running after looking for a punchline and pushing for it, you're just sitting back and letting the comedy arise naturally and trusting that it will come find you on that bench if you're just listening and reacting honestly. It's occurring to me as you're describing that that like it's maybe a gift that you didn't want to be a comedian and that it arose organically because a lot of people who are like, you know, chasing it, that's where some of that pushing comes from because they feel like this pressure, like, well, if I'm the funny one, I've got to be funny and whatever. And you're like, no, I'm cool. Like, I don't even want to necessarily do that anyway. All I want to do is connect with people and be myself and speak my truth. So like, you know, what a gift to your scenes that is.
Well, that's nice. I appreciate you saying that because I felt like I would always feel when I would meet people who can who they really can just act like, you know, like they just command stage when they walk out there, and I would feel like I wish I just like I'll meet friends who like did theater in high school and did theater in college, or someone like Rachel Bloom was like, you know, like someone I'm like, man, they're like so amazing. It's like they can sing, they can, you know, do all these things. And I was like, man, what would I be if I just got to do like almost like a regretful like I wish that I had access to that, or even access to improv younger, you know what I mean? But then I look back and I'm like, what would I have liked it? You know, I wonder if I would have appreciated it if I didn't come into it the way that I did. Cause I feel like I might have done it and be like, I don't know, it's for me. But now as an adult doing it, I'm like, oh, like this is such a like real like emotion that has been sitting inside me that I'm like, oh, so excited to get out. And I like feel very comfortable in the space now, which is like, it's like dope, which was like not what I felt when I first started.
Yeah.
Because everybody, especially when you're in one-on-one class, most of the people in those classes are like usually like people coming from dramatic acting and big acting backgrounds. And you're like, and I'm like, man, these people are like, they're like not scared or like not, I mean, they probably have their own way of processing, but they're coming in like, hello, what's up? You know, New York. And I'm like, man, what's up with these cats, man? No, like, you know,
they are
like,
always singing New York. It
every
is
time. And then I'm like, but I kept wanting, even to this day, like I started taking a dramatic acting class because it's something I still feel like I want to do better, even though I don't want to lose everything you just said, you know, that because I don't want to lose that part of me that's that trusting the authenticity, but I also want to be able to like just technically perform like a performer, you know, and like make sure that I'm, you know, facing the crowd and, you know, doing things that just add to your, you know, like I have like terrible grammar, and it's like there's part of me that's like we'll never do the effort to like make sure that's better, but I have to because I'm a writer. And I can't turn this in. It's like it's just not gonna get through if there's like typos or whatever. And like even though I'm so anti, like I hate when people correct my spelling. I hate when people like point out mistakes like that. I find it like so frustrating
because it feels personal. It's like, well, that's how it came out of me. So you're just like, now it's like you're almost making fun of the way I look or something. It's like, this is my natural
It's like
state.
when you're a roommate, when you have roommates and then you're washing the dishes and they're like, oh, that's how you wash the dishes? Like, you're like, well, yeah, it doesn't everybody.
Right.
Like no, like this is how I do it. But it's just certain things that you're just like, well, you know, I loved your essay, but like if you just, you know, proofread it a couple more times, I probably could have published it in this thing. And I'm like, you know, so there's part of me that's like, oh, you know, as funny as I am, I want to even be better and sort of like have more tools in that way. So I've been taking like dramatic acting classes.
That's awesome.
Like just to feel comfortable on stage in that way. But, you know, I'm trying to find teachers that, because the irony is I'll go to acting classes and they don't know about my improv background, and they'll give me the note again, like you're playing too low key every time. And I'm like, if you just saw me on stage, you would know like this is how I do it. And it's like no, this is like
Lamar
my style.
Woods
like,
special,
but then so I keep it's like a weird push or pull where I'm fighting that. but I also want to make sure that if the teacher's calling that out, it's from the right place and not just because like that's just the first note that's easy to give where you're like, oh, well, you know, have some more energy on this take. Well, it's like, well, yeah, like that doesn't change how I feel about the performance, but there's also times where I actually am too low energy, you know, and I'm trying to figure out how to be like more intelligent about that. But,
I mean, good for you for being humble enough and like open enough to be like, I'm gonna work on these tools, I'm gonna get better at this and this, even though like you know, you're kind of walking into the lion's den on some of it. There's a lot of vulnerability on that, and I can totally relate to the frustration of like, especially if it's a note that you've gotten other times and from other places. It's like, okay, yeah, we know that that's a thing. It's like, yeah, I know I have a shitty nasal Michigan accent. I will try to work on it over the course of this project. But what were the acting notes? How can I improve the scene? Like, what am I? Yeah, like, it's. You want to work on the craft of it, not just and you want to get deeper with it.
And you want it to be specific to you too. I think that's something that UCB, I think to give UCB, the institution, its flowers, I feel like it seemed very good at helping people be the best version of themselves on stage, as opposed to like, here is the standard of how we do comedy, come do it like this. And I think there's certain teachers that you go, when you go in class, like acting teachers, you'll go, I think there's just certain notes you could just say to make you look like you know what you're doing. Because like I know, like if someone sent me a script, like as a writer, I'm like, there's like 4 or 5 notes I could probably give that will just seem like good notes, even if I haven't read it, which is like, is like, oh, I think you should up the stakes, you know, like it doesn't matter what it like you could say that no matter what. It's like the stakes should be higher. It's like, I think you should make your character more active, or you know, like it's like
the person is like, I'm gonna stop you right there. Did you read this?
Yeah.
This is literally like there are 2 people left on the planet and it's about to get blown up.
I think you can up the stakes a little more, like just a little more. Like what is really going on? You know, and it's like those people will say that shit to you, and then it'll be frustrating because you're like, because you're not really teaching me. You know, okay, now it's like when I used to manage the wax museum, right? And like,
we gotta talk about that.
Oh yeah, this is great. So like that was like a role that I didn't expect to be in either. Like, which I think, you know, just it's like, you know, I'm having like maybe 100 employees under me, running this place, and it's like I'm trying to.
Are you counting the wax figures in that, or is this just?
That really got it. Kind of.
You can like really up your numbers that way. Okay, to be fair.
I was talking Nicole Kidman, Morgan Freeman. They all I had to manage all of them, but they were like, no, not counting the wax, but the humans. Yeah, they were like, you know, different. You know, and like I can't just go to this person and give them the same sort of like management style that I would give this. Like some people would be like, I need you to tell me like what to do, or I'm not going to do anything. Like if you don't give me the like exact like directions of how to do it, I won't do it. Then some people are like, don't tell me anything, just I'm gonna take ownership and do it and take initiative, and then I'll show it to you, and then you could give me the notes after. And it was, or some people are like really sensitive, or like you know what I'm saying? It's like I couldn't just take one management approach to all these people. And I feel like what I'm looking for, honestly, kind of still looking for in a acting teacher is like, I'm like, I see you, I know how you perform, I've seen your shows. Like now we're gonna work on how to make the best version of you in that way. Because I think like I come in, I'll take a random acting class and they'll give me the exact same note. Like I can almost predict it. They'll be like, I need more energy in this scene, and I feel like you're not fully there. Like it's like. There's probably some level of truth to it, but for me, it just reads as like, it's like when you go on a date and someone says something and it triggers something like, oh, you say this to everybody, you know, like this isn't really, you're just saying this isn't really about me, you know.
It can feel like a lazy note because it is like something that, like it's like, what's the next step of this? If you're the teacher and you know the destination, right? You know that I'm the vehicle, right? So drive me there. Right, don't just talk about what the destination is and that I'm not there. Like use my instrument to like play the thing that you want to play. Like we know that this is the law of Lamar's universe, is that it's gonna be chill and low and true to Lamar's person. Given that, what can I do better in the scene? Yeah.
I think that's helpful. And I think comedy-wise, UCB is great at that. And then now I'm just trying to map it with some like drama stuff, but we'll see what happens.
I want to go back to what you said a few minutes ago about really responding to game. And once that came into play, you were like, oh, this is changing my improv.
Yeah, that was what 201, right? I think 101 was definitely fun. You know, I eventually like figured out a way to have fun with that. And like, I think 201 was with who was that? Alan McLeod, and I think
he's also a low key guy.
Yeah,
he's
very
a similar player. Yeah,
I think that was help. That helps though. You see somebody play like you a little bit, and you're like, but he's funny and making people laugh, and he's a teacher.
Also from the South.
Yeah, that's also that. I think that's that's a great point, because I think that was something I was feeling like when I moved to LA. I was like looking for I didn't notice a lot of Southern comedians. A lot of people were from New York or Chicago or like Midwest, and I wasn't meeting a lot of Southern ones. And then when I met Alan, I was like, because we talk like this too, so it's also like we talk very drawn out like Southern draw. And but I just found myself being really interested in the math of like the game and like those patterns and stuff. And I felt like that I just caught on to that really early, and I was like, oh, I'm into this. Like, and maybe that's something to do with like the music element and like looking for patterns and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that was like
something
I was very excited. I was like, I like this. I like game, because I know it was like it could be hard at sometimes. As soon as I got into that, I was like, I was more excited about game and learning that than doing like, you know, like hotspot or like big kind of like stuff to get you out of your body, because I was like, oh, I'm like was so much more heady. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
All of this speaks to a writer's approach too, and you are a writer, which I want to talk about as well. But like, you know, a writer maybe tends to be more internal, more heady, less about the New York of it. Yeah,
Right.
but fitting with a pattern or having something that you can like, you know, hang your hat on and be like, this is this assignment that I'm looking to fill right now or whatever.
Yeah, and like building on an idea and like, okay, here's the idea, and let's keep going on this one thing. I think that's something that happens in the writer's room a lot. Like,
a narrower focus than just be funny about anything.
Right.
For part 2 of this episode, go to yesalso.supercast.com. If you like this podcast and you want double the content, head over to yesalso.supercast.com and subscribe. You can also help us out for free by subscribing to us on YouTube and talking us up to your improv communities. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer in one of our Q&A episodes, or a topic that you think would make a great bonus episode, put it in a 5-star review. If you're a theater who would like to host us for a live recording and improv show, let us know at yesalsopod@gmail.com. A very special thanks to our producer, Ryan Rosenberg, audio and video editor, Brian Kessler, and Britt Faye, who does our marketing. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. No, we won't, Suzi. That's not how podcasts work. They won't even see us. They will listen to us, so it's actually the opposite of both things you said. Thanks for listening, and you will listen to us next week. Maybe. We don't know.